So today's episode of Collecting Comics is all about Spider-Man. Our Spider-Man collection is quite big, and so we're only looking at our first box today, which does include some classic comics. Dad, what is the first Spider-Man story you remember reading?
The first Spider-Man story was a couple of British reissue comics which featured the death of Captain Stacy. That's what I remember reading around someone's house. Soon after that, I bought my first Spider-Man British weekly reprint, which was a reprint of Amazing Spider-Man 101, first Morbius. Hence the reason I have this ongoing love for Morbius.
So we can see the Funko up in the corner of our room.
We can.
Of course, Morbius soon has a film to come out.
Yeah.
And so maybe more people will share your love for the character. Who knows?
Who knows
how successful it'll be. We've also got a Morbius Living Vampire omnibus. So obviously people are getting quite excited.
Yeah, I mean Morbius is an interesting character, probably a bit of a B character. But look, let's all look forward to the film and hope they do him justice.
Absolutely. So, looking at the Artifact edition that I have here on top of our comic boxes, this focuses on John Romita's early work on Spider-Man. Now, very recently, well, actually must have been a couple of years ago now, when I was doing my teacher training, I would come home from work and read one or two classic Stan Lee Spider-Man comics, starting with obviously Amazing Fantasy issue 15, going all the way up to Amazing Spider-Man issue 122, because obviously that's the last issue. Gwen Stacy doesn't really appear in that issue, but that's sort of where I see, for me personally, that run ending.
You see that as a death of the Silver Age, is that right?
It's true. I think for me, the Silver Age ends when there's that sort of innocent life lost. It's the first time Marvel sort of, crossed that dark path, and there wasn't really a return for the character until very recently.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they had killed her dad.
Yes,
bit
yeah.
Of a sad legacy.
But I think because he had lived his sort of full life, it wasn't as shocking as the death of Gwen Stacy.
He was a police chief, wasn't he? And he died an heroic death, as I remember it. I've not read that story for a long time. So you've been reading Spidey How?
I've gone to the omnibuses. We have the first 3 volumes of The Amazing Spider-Man, with the 4th that has recently come out. That's with the Frank Cho variant. Yes. Yeah. But having read the early Spider-Man comics, I really wanted to get this Artifact edition just to see some of John Romita's work up close. I think he is probably my favourite Spider-Man artist. When this book came, I was surprised at the size. We have some Artifact editions. We have the Dark Phoenix saga, and I also have a Michael Turner Batman Superman Supergirl book. They aren't quite as big as this.
Different sizes, aren't they? I think.
Different sizes.
But I don't know what. I guess this is the size of the original art, isn't it? I think this is the idea.
Yeah, and we literally get a scan of the pages that are still sort of in circulation or still accessible.
Well, collectors are giving Marvel, IDW to
Yeah, because not every single page has been found.
Classic stuff. I know that that Steve Ditko didn't want Norman Osborn to be the Green Goblin. And this is apparently why he left the series, which I think was in issue 38.
Yeah.
Bit of strange reason, really.
I quite like the twist, but of course, at the time, it's so interesting that when Green Goblin did first appear, he didn't have that secret identity. He was just a Green Goblin. And later on, it turns out to be a character that we know.
I don't know who Steve Ditko wanted the Green Goblin to be. I don't know who created the Green Goblin, whether it was Stan or Steve or who knows. But that's all good stuff, isn't it?
It is, and the Artifact edition is nice to check out. We won't flick through the whole thing because it is quite a big book. But if you love looking at the original art, it's interesting. You can see original artist markings on the side of the page. You can see where panels have been Tipp-X'd out, and you can also see where some things have been sellotaped on.
I like this. There's so much writing on it.
I know.
Great.
It's amazing. I mean, I've read before that when artists sent their pages into Marvel, some did get lost in the post or held up by the post if they weren't hand dropping them to the Marvel offices.
Yeah. I think that still happens sometimes when they courier them in. You know, not obviously in recent times, it's all digital, but yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so going to our actual Spider-Man box now. What is the earliest issue of Spider-Man that we have?
So the earliest one we've got is issue 25, which we bought at an auction a few years ago, didn't we? With issue 26, and we wanted this one because it's the first cameo of Mary Jane. I think you see her leg, don't you?
You do. She's sitting behind a flower pot, so she's kept as quite a mystery to begin with. And apparently Stan Lee was building up Mary Jane as like the classic girl next door, someone who is considered to be nice, someone that Aunt May wanted, and Peter, being, you know, Peter Parker, who can be a bit of a jerk sometimes, didn't want to meet her because he didn't realise how pretty she was.
What a jerk.
I know. And then as soon as he actually saw her, then he was suddenly interested and didn't consider her just to be the girl sort of next door.
Do you think Stan Lee was setting up a Betty and Veronica scenario? I know Mary Jane's a redhead, of course, but,
yeah,
you know, I know Gwen hasn't yet appeared.
Could be. But, bit of a love triangle.
Yeah, that whole Betty, Veronica, Archie thing. I don't know.
He could be. I mean, this isn't the first love triangle that Spider-Man's been involved in. And of course, here we also have the Spider Slayer.
Talking about jerks, why would you literally try and kill Spider-Man? I think this is J. Jonah's idea here. He actually wants to kill him.
And I love J. Jonah Jameson. He's brilliant. He's brilliant in the comics. He's great in the films.
How excited did you get when he appeared at the end of the last film?
I know, so happy. But of course, this is a bit of a villainous move. How he actually does, hire out.
Should have gone to jail, really, shouldn't he, for trying to kill.
He does work with someone like the Scorpion, from what I can remember.
Does he really?
Or he works with someone to bring them to life. Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've read these stories. I really want to start reading the omnibuses. 26, another Steve Ditko cover, which we got at the same auction. Little Green Goblin there in the background, which is quite nice.
I remember the Amazing Spider-Man issue 14 being up for auction, and that one, the bids didn't stop.
No, it's obviously such a key issue, probably a little bit beyond our price range. So this one's one we got at a Comic-Con, number 31, first Gwen Stacy, first Harry Osborn, I think.
I believe so. I believe that Peter goes to college.
Yeah.
And when he goes to college, he's left, Midtown High, and he meets Gwen Stacy and Harry Osborn, all in the same issue.
Yeah, I mean, we bought it, didn't we? Because it's the first Gwen. Weren't you cosplaying Gwen Stacy?
I was.
Great. I think the guy said, "Look, you're buying the first issue of your."
Sure,
appearance.
it was Midtown Comics.
Do you think so? Yeah, I know
From what memory
Midtown
serves.
were at the London Comic Cons, weren't they? That's a nice copy, isn't it?
It is a nice copy.
Another Steve Ditko one. I mean, we only have these 3 Steve Ditko issues. First, Professor Warren Miles, the Jackal.
Of
later.
Course. Well, speaking of, first appearances, you sort of think that a character can only appear once, but Gwen Stacy in the last decade has reappeared multiple times. So here we have the Hawkeye versus Deadpool issue 0, which is believed to be Spider-Gwen's first cameo appearance.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sort of I wouldn't say unknown. I think it's widely known, but it's not especially valuable. Haven't checked its value recently, but I don't think it's a valuable book. But does she not appear with Jane Foster as Thor?
Yes, she appears with somebody else.
I think it's Jane Foster Thor.
Yeah, it could be. So. And she's sort of walking down the street in costume. They don't speak, but they're there. It's a bit of a tease of what's to come. Now we have the Edge of Spider-Verse issue 2, the first Gwen Stacy as Spider-Woman. And before this book really took off, I read the story. I enjoyed it because I've always been a big Gwen Stacy fan, and her costume is so fantastic. Right. So with this, I also bought the 1 in 25 Greg Land variant. Now I remember this was about £14.99, and you were out with Uncle Nick that night, right? And I remember texting you to say, look at this great cover I've just bought on eBay. And now with, the success of the character, the recent Into the Spider-Verse movie, this variant does go for quite a lot of money. I mean, some people have said to me I should CGC it, but I do like having the raw copy.
It's nice, isn't it? I mean, I remember why I bought this series, because at a Comic-Con, we'd met David Hine a few times, hadn't we? We met him a few times. He's quite nice.
Really
I think
nice.
You interviewed him for your fanzine, first class comic review back in the day with Lily, and he was such a nice guy. And we spoke to him. He said, "Yeah, I'm writing this thing called Age of Spider-Verse with Spider-Man Noir, which I hadn't bought the Spider-Man Noir series which he'd written." So I thought, I'll order the series, and that just happened to be issue 2.
Yeah, and from that point, we also picked up the second printing.
There we go.
The third printing.
We really kept going on this, didn't we?
Again, no, it wasn't out of speculation as such. It was because we liked the character.
We liked the third one, didn't we?
I love the design cover.
Different one.
And then I also found this Comic Bug exclusive. There's a coloured and a black and white. So I've got quite a nice Edge of Spider-Verse collection, really. And then a little bit later, we had Deadpool Secret Wars, where Gwenpool first appeared, and a selection of different covers where Gwen took on different personas.
That's just a cover appearance, isn't it? So
just a
she
cover
only
appearance.
appears on the cover as a kind of a Deadpool, as you said.
Yeah.
But then she appears in
one of your favourite books.
One of my favourite books, Held It Up, one of my favourite characters.
Yeah.
We've got a series written by Chip Zdarsky. Excuse my pronunciation if I get some of these names wrong. Yeah, and she was a backup, wasn't she? And that's a variant cover, isn't it?
It is. It could be 1 in 25. It could be. And we've also got the sketch of that as well. It's really interesting. Recently I was doing a bit of work with the Valkyries, and I was able to interview Heather Antos, an editor at Marvel, and she's obviously done a lot of work editing the Gwenpool book. It's really fun catching up with her on the character.
Yeah, so as you said, from one first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man 31, lots of newer first appearances as we finally get a much loved character back.
Absolutely.
So Ellie, what have we got? We've got a nice Amazing Spider-Man 59. This is we pulled this out of Lily's collection, didn't we?
We did.
So it's not in the general Spider-Man box. So Lily got this one a while ago. Lily's our third member of our family that collects comics.
Currently away at university, but we're hoping she's going to appear on an episode when she's back at Easter.
We do. We're saving the Black Cat stuff for her, aren't we? I think one of her favourite characters. This is a great cover. Really like it by John Romita.
Absolutely, I love
good Spidey as well, isn't it? It's not just nice seeing Mary Jane on the cover, but what a great Spidey.
It is a great Spidey.
Good action pose.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed, the run from really issue 50, where issue 50 sort of debated, do I give up being
Hasn't he got flu?
Oh, he's always catching the flu. He is, but no, it's just such a great run of the character. One of my favourites.
Yeah, you're a big John Romita fan on Spidey, aren't you?
Absolutely.
We don't have that many issues before issue 100. This is a really battered 73. I love this name. This is a whole Stan Lee thing, isn't it? Man, Mountain, Marco.
That's the alliteration.
Classic Stan Lee.
And this is why if I get married, I'm not changing my name from Ellie Eggleton, because I have my alliteration. It's not going anywhere.
You've got your perfect Stan Lee name, haven't you? Yeah, brilliant. I remember reading this to both you and Lily when you were little.
Funny.
And it was such a funny.
We found it so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it was such a good book.
I think it was some of that 60s dialogue as well that Stan obviously used because of the era. I think we had the old groovy in there and things like that, and it was great. This is a nice issue. Again, none of these are in great condition, but this is Black Widow kind of rebooting herself. This is where she wears the costume that we kind of know today for the first time. Beware the Black Widow. I think in classic Marvel style, just to test her ability, she obviously goes out and fights Spider-Man, as you do.
She does.
But she has been in the Iron Man series where she first appears in Tales of Suspense. She is then an Avenger, Hawkeye's girlfriend. I quite like that, actually. I quite like that. In the 70s, when I started reading comics, she's just finished a relationship with Daredevil. And I'll go back and buy some of those issues. So I thought that was great. And she'd straight after this, she goes into Amazing Adventures, where she appears in the first 8 issues
with the Inhumans.
Yeah, so
right?
it's a split, one of those Marvel split books. I like that.
I do too. I
two
like
stories.
a split book.
You get 11 or 12 pages of one. And
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Again, one of Lily's favourite characters is Black Widow, so that's quite a nice comic. This is a really nice copy, actually, of 87.
This is one of my favourite covers.
Great cover.
Again,
1 shilling, 5 pence in modern language.
And again, he's considering, do I unmask? Do I stop being Spider-Man? He thinks at this point his career is over.
I like it with Gwen and Harry kind of holding back. He's Spider-Man.
Yeah, this could be one of our last Captain Stacy covers, actually.
Could be. Yeah, I think he dies in issue 91. I might be wrong. I've got issue 91, so he doesn't die in issue 91, but it's around that time.
And of course,
issue
when Captain Stacy does die, Gwen then blames Spider-Man for his death.
She does, and all the way to her death, she doesn't know that it's not Spidey's fault. Yeah.
And recently we read a Dan Slott comic where in the recent clone conspiracy, and Gwen's taken to the bridge, but she can still hear. She can hear the Green Goblin and Spider-Man, and Green Goblin's taunting Peter, calling him by his name, and Gwen realizes that her boyfriend is Spider-Man, a man who she thinks has killed her father, so she dies not realizing the truth.
Let's get on to that soon.
So 96 does not have the comic book code stamped on the cover.
There's a drug story. Obviously Marvel
they were approached to write a story.
They were approached to write it, and as always Stan does a good job. But the comic code said they wouldn't approve it, so we said fine.
We'll take it off.
Just stamp off the cover. I don't know if that's one of the. This is probably since the comic codes come in what 54, 55, totally destroying the wonderful EC comics, which is it's partly Marvel's fault because they knew what would happen in terms of putting EC kind of out of business. So with major publishers like Marvel and DC, this might be one of the first covers without the comic code.
Without the code.
I love
and
this.
Again here.
Yeah, I love this cover. It's great. Great Green Goblin, John Romita. I think Gil Kane might be doing the interiors. I'm a big Gil Kane fan. I'm not really sure who my favourite Spider-Man artist is.
Well, I've had so many good ones.
Yeah, you have to obviously think of the great Steve Ditko. I do love John Romita. I love Gil Kane on Spider-Man. I think they're 3 of my favourites. So of course we've had many great artists over the year doing him. So let's have a little look through what we've got. Oh, there's a nice 98. Again, without the code. Code returns on 99. Look. So this one is a really battered copy of 102. So for a month, Marvel did all their, maybe not all, but a lot of their comics. They did giant size issues.
Right.
So you get a nice giant size Spider-Man. Looks like mine's been a bit obliterated with the 6 pence on there, and there's sellotape on it, and it's obviously a really poor copy. So this is Morbius's second appearance. He's first appeared in 101, which I read on reprint. This is a nice double issue where he teams up with the Lizard, and Spidey's got extra arms.
He sadly does.
Because he does something in issue 100, doesn't he?
He does.
He takes some formula or something. I can't quite remember why he did that.
No. But luckily, they don't last for too long. That would be quite distressing for him, I think.
Yeah. So this issue, as with 101, is written by Roy Thomas. So Roy Thomas, Stan Lee's last issue. I think he does come back for a few issues, but not many. Stan Lee's last issue is 100. Roy Thomas only writes maybe 3 or 4 or 5 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. He's now editor-in-chief, so he's got other things to do, including writing Conan the Barbarian, and of course at some point Jerry Conway takes over. Squash goes to Spider. Spidey's unmasked again. Keeps getting unmasked, doesn't he?
He does.
But no one actually knows who he is. There's lots of issues there going up.
See, I remember this story.
With the Gibbon.
With the Gibbon, because the Gibbon wants to join Spider-Man. He wants to be partners.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man says, no, I'm not working with you. And so poor Gibbon is, he doesn't know what to do with himself.
What happens to the Gibbon? Does he die?
I think sadly, very recently, in the Craven's recent hunt, we have lost the Gibbon, and I have a big soft spot for him. So
yeah, poor old Gibbon. Yeah, going back to Spidey being a jerk again.
I mean, I guess he can't be
I suppose he
perfect, but he
tries.
tries.
Can't work with everyone, can he? So I'm going to move forward to issue 119. I think
London.
that they're in London, aren't they? I think that's by John Romita as well. I think it is. I don't know if 120, which is a continuation of that story, but we do have 121.
Yes.
So I guess we all know what happens in 121. I was reading this a few years after it came out in a British reprint. So this was the cover. You got half the story, and I looked at that thinking, yeah, no one's going to die. Despite the fact I had read Captain Stacy dying, I looked at that lot. I thought he's not going to kill any of those. Next week I read it and Gwen dies, and that's the first time I realised that comics were a bit more serious, perhaps. When they kill this young lady who's 17, I think.
Yes.
I don't know if we know she's 17 or.
We've read that.
But yeah, we kind of do know she's 17, and she dies in such a tragic way. Well, you think he saved her.
That's what's heartbreaking.
But he hasn't, and he's either broken her neck, or
by catching her with the web.
Yeah, or her neck's broken on the way down anyway. But how sad. The next issue, which we don't have,
which I'm desperate for.
I know,
that's the one holy grail of mine.
Yeah, you want a 122, but 122, as I remember, Spider-Man's on the floor. Police are holding the crowd back, saying give him some space. He's holding Gwen, and the Goblins flying around saying, "I killed your girlfriend."
Yeah, and then of course
just insane.
They follow. I remember the crowd sort of thinking Spider-Man killed her, and the officer says, "No, this is obviously a man in pain."
Oh, is that right? Yeah, I've not. Again, I haven't read that for a while.
Yeah.
You've read it in so many different formats.
I have.
Do you remember when we bought this, which was probably about 15 years ago? I brought it home. I read it.
Yeah.
And then I passed it to you. And
I remember flicking through it on the table.
You got to read your comics, haven't you? However expensive they might be. I do have, following on from, I'll tell you what surprised me, by 123, which features Power Man, he's barely referenced that.
I know, I remember that.
And of course the Green Goblins died in 122.
I think at the beginning of 123, he does make a reference on one page, and then his story moves on. Yeah. But I think they wanted to get rid of Spider-Man's girlfriend. I think they wanted to keep Spider-Man a single guy. They don't want him to grow up too old too quickly. And I think they wanted to give him that loss as well.
Could have just split up though.
They could have done.
He's already got the loss, hasn't he, with Uncle Ben? They're giving him another loss. Am I right in saying that Stanley didn't want her to die?
Well, apparently. So what happened is when Gwen Stacy died, Stanley would tour a lot of colleges. Yeah. And the students weren't happy to have lost Gwen Stacy.
Because in the 70s, comics are becoming a bit of a thing, aren't they? And they realise they've got a sort of a university college audience.
And so Stanley's gone around and he said, yeah, it wasn't really my choice to kill Gwen. We'll bring her back.
Jerry Conway guy.
Yeah, and I think,
he did say that, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think it's promised that she'll return.
We'll get onto her.
And we will.
Down the line. 124. In the 124 is a great cover. First appearance of the Man-Wolf, although as we know the Man-Wolf is John Jameson, so his first appearance was back in issue 1. But I probably referenced it a couple of times now. I love Marvel's horror in the early 70s. In England we had a weekly comic called Legion of Monsters, and there was also a Dracula Lives weekly which reprinted Tomb of Dracula with, I don't know, Man-Thing or The Living Mummy or Man-Wolf in the back, because Man-Wolf gets a run in Creatures on the Loose from issues 30 to 37 after appearing in 124 and 125. I really liked him.
Yeah.
He looks good. We also had the Werewolf by Night, so we've now got 2 werewolves in the Marvel Universe, which is pretty cool. 128, it's a nice Vulture cover. And then we've got 129, featuring one of my favourite characters, the Jackal.
Oh, yeah.
So, Miles Warren returns as the Jackal. Strange little green creature.
Not really one of our favourites.
Not one of our favourites. Although there's been some good stories. You know, we mentioned the clone conspiracy. What a good story that was, where he was in, or multiple versions of him were in. First appearance of the Punisher. So Jerry Conway with Ross Andrew now, who's on art, John Romita cover, bringing the Punisher. It's really similar to characters that appeared in different novels. I remember reading The Destroyer in the 70s.
Right.
And the Destroyer had pretty much the same origin as the Punisher, which they don't tell in here. I think he appears in a couple of black and white magazine appearances, and they tell his origin. His family had been killed in a mafia war. I can't remember why he's trying to kill Spider-Man. Has the Jackal hired him? I think he has. Can't remember.
It says on the cover, the most lethal hired assassin ever. His assignment is to kill Spider-Man.
So he's not fighting a war against organised crime. He's trying to kill Pearl Spidey, but doesn't do it. That cover looks like Gil Kane. I'm sure it's John Romita. It's just the way I should really know this, shouldn't I? It's just the way Spider-Man's drawn. Looks really like Gil Kane, but I think it is John Romita. I'll have to look that one up. I always thought it was John Romita, but Spider-Man is so much like a Gil Kane version. We've got that. Remember Wizard magazine used to do these issues?
The Ace editions.
Yeah, there's an Ace edition of Spider-Man 129. We were talking about the return of Gwen Stacy, so following on from Stan touring the colleges, he probably says to Jerry, "You got to bring her back." So Jerry says, "Yeah, no problem." So he brings her back in one issue. Was it one issue, or was it more than one?
One or two as a clone.
Yeah, as a clone. Yeah.
Which is, it's a bit creepy because obviously Professor Warren was her science teacher.
Very creepy, yeah. So I think all the way along, you know, to try and explain what his obsession is with Peter, Gwen, Harry Osborn, that's the explanation, isn't it? I think, you know, he's just obsessed with them, which you're right, he's creepy because he's an older guy.
They're students.
These are kids. But anyway, yeah, Gwen comes back for an issue, so great cover. I'm sure when you're buying that back in the day, you're hoping that she's returned.
This could be an early clone story as well, before they really kicked off.
So Jerry Conway leaves with issue 149. Archie Goodwin writes 150, and then Len Wein takes over. So we've got a few Len Wein issues. There's a wedding there. Ned Leeds and Betty Brant.
I was hoping it was Doc Ock and Aunt May.
I know. They are. I think Doc Ock and Aunt May are getting friendly. Hammerhead Ghost is after her. This is something else that I think Marvel had in an earlier issue. We don't have the Spider-Mobile.
Yes.
And again, I'm sure Marvel are under pressure in the 70s, you know, to bring back this car so they can market it.
Part of a toy line, and I guess their answer to the Batmobile as well.
Must be, yeah. So it appears in one issue, but it's completely trashed again.
Oh God, it's like, he doesn't want to sit in traffic if he can swing on webs and go over.
Exactly, yeah. Doesn't really make sense, does it? But there's his little Spider-Mobile.
Well designed.
Well designed.
Well designed.
I think it's appeared a few times after that, and it always gets smashed up. I'm only going to bring these in because, again, they're Punisher-centric issues. Nice early Nightcrawler appearance there. And another Punisher, but one of these issues, I'm not sure if it's 161 or 162, features Jigsaw, who's a big Punisher villain, featured in the Netflix series and in the film. But he first appears in here, so that's another pretty cool first appearance. So we are going to jump forward a little bit. We've got some nice issues actually under issue 200. I'm going to try and highlight a few of them. I'm going to go past the Stegron the dinosaur issues. Actually, I'm not, because I was
going to say, are you sure?
Yeah, I really like Stegron the dinosaur, man. Silly character, first appears in Marvel Team Up.
I like that cover because I like the reefs.
Yeah.
It's of the season.
It is, yeah. It teams up the lizard. At the time, so I'm at a comic mart and I'm buying these because it's not distributed. You can see the 30 cents on there. can't get it in England because of the Spider-Man Weekly. In fact, I'm going to say the last issue of Amazing Spider-Man distributed in England at the time was 120. So
Right.
121 is the first non-distributed because of the British West. So that must be frustrating for British comic fans at the time.
One thing I found out recently, I believe it was in Mexico, they read the death of Gwen Stacy and they thought no. And so they then they published their own Spider-Man title, and these covers exist where, you know, Gwen Stacy lives.
Fantastic. Was that authorised by Marvel?
I don't think so, but I don't know. But that's something I really do want to explore more of and hear more about.
Yeah, maybe they just gave them license to do whatever they wanted with their characters.
Maybe.
I think Stegron appears in Marvel Team at 19. It's Spider-Man and Kazar, which I'm very proud to say I have, because you know you have to have your first Stegron. I remember going to Comic Mart, and people were saying Spider-Man's rubbish, who's buying it? And I put my hand up, so I'll buy Amazing Spider-Man. Why wouldn't you? And at the time, it's not very popular. But I thought it was okay. I thought Len Wein did a good job.
So strange to think that Spider-Man was once out of fashion.
He was out of fashion. And I think this might have been the time when Peter Parker, the spectacular Spider-Man, becomes pretty much the third Spider-Man comic, because Marvel Team Up, he's featured in almost every issue. And they got the reprint Marvel Tales as well. I liked him. Look, we got some really good Green Goblin comics here, starting with 77 or 177.
So this is the return of the Green Goblin, but not as we knew him.
It's not Harry, I don't think.
Is it not?
I don't think so. I think it's someone else. Because again, going back to, I might be wrong, it might be Harry, but I know there's another Green Goblin, and I only remembered that again reading the Clone Saga, because this guy's dead.
Right.
And you know he's brought back as a clone, and I think he's flying around as a goblin. I can't remember his name, or it's Harry. So apologies for not being able to clarify that, but
it's hard because when you read so much Spidey, the stories can confuse.
Well, that's a great cover, isn't it? Sticking with these. I like this cover.
Oh, where he graduates.
Yeah,
I like this cover.
The earlier cover we showed. Yeah, that's where he graduates, which is a nice cover. I'm just going to go forward a bit because there's some really good stuff coming up fairly soon. There's lots of nice issues. Yeah, there's a couple of them there. 2 Green Goblins. I really want to read these comics.
You're going to have to go back.
I'm going to have to go through them. I want to, every time we open a box, Ellie,
you're going to read
pull out so many good comics that I want to start reading them again. Yeah, Man-Wolf reappears there in issue 190. We are coming to a very important issue in there, so I want to just get to that. Okay, so excuse me a second. Yeah, we're just running up to obviously issue 194. So again, going to Lily's collection. We've got quite a nice copy of 194, first appearance of the Black Cat. Right there, signed by Marv Wolfman to Lily. So we met Marv, didn't we? I don't know, 2013, 2014, 2015.
No, London Super Comic Con.
It wasn't. It was at the other one. What's the other one called? The manga one.
MCM?
I'm sure it was at MCM. And he was sitting next to Jim Zub, who's they were working on some online thing, weren't they? They were working on an online comic strip, him and Marv, and Marv kind of grabbed this comic, which was near mint, and threw it around a bit and signed it and said, comics are to read.
So what happened though is Jim Zub also took the copy, so he could draw a nice sketch for Lil of the Black Cat.
He did, then he drew a great sketch for Lily, didn't he? And it was lovely. Fantastic. Fortunately, whatever Marv and Jim Zub have done to Lily's Amazing Spider-Man 194, we're very lucky to have a CGC 9.6, or I should say Lily is, also in our collection. So Black Cat appears. Black Cat was originally, I think I'm right in saying, scheduled to appear in Spider-Woman 9, written by Marv Wolfman. I think it's I might have got this wrong, but I think at the end of, let's say, issue 8, they mention Black Cat's coming.
Right.
So.
But she appears in this first, obviously.
Yeah, because I think he's leaving.
Right.
I think he's leaving Spider-Woman. I know Chris Claremont goes on a long Spider-Woman run. Whether he takes over, I really can't recall. But instead, he puts her into Amazing Spider-Man because he's recently taken over from Len Wein. I think he's gone to DC. To become an editor there and all those things. And I think he's just taken over Spider-Man, high-profile book, puts her in there. What a great cover by Alan Milgram. There is an alternative to that by Keith Pollard, who's now on the book.
Very cool.
But it's an iconic cover, good character. People say she's Marvel's answer to Catwoman. Nonsense.
Well, she's had some good stories, good solo stories, as well as appearing in this book.
She has, and I'm sure we're going to see her in a film anytime soon. Where no doubt Lily's huge Black Cat collection is going to become even more.
I mean, we enjoyed
expensive
it.
It is now.
We enjoyed it when she was in Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and
so
they're in a relationship.
Right. That's right.
And as soon as he reveals to her that he is Peter Parker, she loses interest. She likes
great
Spider.
Stories. Yeah, so in the 80s, in Spectacular Spider-Man, as you say. So when you girls were little, just to backtrack, I used to read you comics for your bedtime stories.
You did.
You had Batman and the X-Men and Spider-Man, and Lily got Spec Spider-Man with a whole Spider-Man Black Cat romance written by Bill Mantlo and then Alan Milgram. Yeah, and her enduring love for Black Cats continued. And I also read her the Daredevil Black Widow issues I had. So she loves Black Cat, Black Widow, two great characters. But there's 195 also signed by Marv. Her second appearance. So let's move on. We don't have, our run is broken. But I'm just going to point out this one. Quite like this character. This is 225. He's the Fall Killer. First appears in Man-Thing 3. I think it might be maybe Man-Thing 4. This might be a different Fall Killer. There's been more than one.
See, I just think Purple Deadpool.
Purple Deadpool. I know you do, but Fall Killer's not just a Purple Deadpool. He goes around killing people he thinks are, fools and not worth living, and
harsh.
Of course, Spidey doesn't like that. But I like the Fall Killer. I thought it was a good character. Another great Black Cat character where she returns in that issue. While we're sort of moving away out of the 70s now, we might actually be in the 80s. I want to. Can you just hold that for me a second, please, Sally? Put that one down. So in the 70s, Marvel did this fairly iconic crossover by Jerry Conway and Ross Andrew. Spider-Man, I should say Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man. That was quite a big deal. I remember seeing it in W.H. Smith's 75 pence. My cousin Nick bought that, and when he stopped collecting comics, sold it to me. Probably for a lot more than 75 pence, maybe a pound. I don't know.
Maybe so.
Yeah, great.
Must have been exciting. I mean, this is one of the earliest crossovers between
I think it's
worlds.
the first one.
Yeah.
First crossover.
I do like the Treasury Edition size format as well.
Yeah, the Treasury Edition was quite a big deal. I used to buy them because it gave you a chance to read stories you hadn't read. Just to emphasise that, there's one of the Spider-Man ones, issue 14.
That's a great cover.
Yeah, that's certainly a Gil Kane Morbius. I'm not sure all the characters. I think they just pulled them from different issues. But yeah, I like the format, and everyone loved the big Conan one because it had Barry Smith's black and white work from Savage Tales in colour for the first time in great big size, and all very exciting. But yeah, that was a big deal. I wasn't a DC fan at the time. I only started reading DC when Steve Englehart starts writing Batman in Detective Comics, which I might have said before. But yeah, exciting. Nice to have that. Thought I'd bring it out for this. So there's so many good Spider-Man comics. Let's try and find a few important early issues and maybe some first appearances. So I'm going to go straight to issue 238. Hobgoblin, first appearance.
Now, I like this costume. I appreciate that it is the same, but recoloured as the Green Goblin.
Yeah, I thought the same. I mean, I wasn't sort of bowled over when this came out. I thought, why are they doing the Green Goblin again? Because Green Goblin's great. How many goblins do you need? Nowadays, there's quite a few. But, you know, in the 80s, whenever this came out, I thought, why do we need another Hobgoblin? And why do we need a tattoo in the comic?
Oh,
so if you've taken a tattoo out,
free lakeside skin tattoo.
Yes, so mine probably is still in there. Why would it not be?
Have you checked?
I think I have.
Another time.
I think I have actually in recent times, and yeah, the tattoo's still in there.
Thing is, if you're a kid and you're reading it, chances are you're gonna put it out and stick it on.
Well, I cut the value stamps out, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah. And I knew better as well, but. You know, you do what you want at the time.
But at the time, they're your comic books.
Yeah,
they're not
exactly,
collectible items. They're a story to read, and now we know. Now we know that some can grow in value and importance, such as if it's a first appearance.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Hobgoblin carries on. There you see him, a bit more clarity. Exactly the same character as the Green Goblin. Different costume. I like the costume as well, actually. It's quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah. I like a little pouch for pumpkin bombs.
Yeah, that's a bit of a novel twist. Just gonna go forward to a bit more Hobgoblin, because there he is on the 250. It's not a giant. Normally the anniversaries at this point are giant size. This is normal size.
Special normal size, 250th issue.
Oh, well, fantastic.
I love the Hobgoblin in the corner saying, "This is great, steal it."
Brilliant, yeah. I love the whole normal size thing.
Yeah.
I think with Marvel, they've always had a sense of humour, haven't they?
Absolutely.
I like that. I like the.
I think it comes from the bullpen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a great cover.
It is a good cover, isn't it? Yeah, I like that one. Ed Hannigan and Klaus Janson.
See, it's funny because I remember Hobgoblin from the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, where they decided really to use him over the Green Goblin.
Why would you do that? You know, why would you not
was
use
the Green Goblin in comics at the time? Was he alive?
He's dead at the moment, isn't he? So
yeah,
at the moment the Green Goblin's dead. Well, he's not though, is he? Because Harry's become the Green Goblin, and then the other guy that's in the sort of 170s. I'm sure that isn't Harry.
Oh, it's the whole Goblin thing.
But I don't think he's not really appearing in the 80s. I think Harry's just Harry again, and all thoughts of being the Goblin have gone for the time being.
Sometimes they forget that they've been the Goblin.
They forget, yeah. So this is the first appearance of the black costume, which was turned into Venom. Quite a neat idea that it's not just a costume.
Yeah, it is its own.
So unusually back in the day, Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars, which Jim Shooter, the editor-in-chief, was writing with Mike Zeck, got delayed. So the first appearance of the costume was supposed to be in issue 8, but I don't know when it appeared, maybe a week or two later. But they got it out a bit late, so this one came out first. So 252 is the first appearance of the costume. You buy this and you think, what's going on? I like the rumours are true though.
Yeah, I like that. Introducing new
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. And of course it's a homage.
It is, yeah. I like that again. Yeah, homage covers are we've had so many now, haven't we?
I always like
so many. But don't know about then. Obviously there were a few around, but that's a nice one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know who the two people are he's saving, whether they're just random or it's part of a story, I'm not sure. But what I want to say is, in Spider-Man 3, the film, isn't that hysterical when he's wearing the costume
and he goes shopping.
He goes shopping.
I know.
One of my favourite scenes in a Marvel film ever.
That film does get criticised, but I love the Spider-Man trilogy.
I love that.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I do as well. I think they did a good job.
Yeah.
I do. I did like that whole shopping scene. That was great.
That was
and
funny.
every time I see the black costume and him wearing it,
you think about it.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so he wears that costume for a bit more. Hobgoblin, he's such a big deal. He keeps popping up again. Look, there he is again.
260.
Yeah, that's a nice cover, isn't it? With Harry. Harry in there as well. There's one by Charles Bess, who's sort of a painter. That's a nice cover as well.
Yeah.
Look at that. photographic cover. bit of a strange one, isn't it? Maybe now that would be a variant.
262. Yeah, now we have
Back in the
cosplay
day,
variants.
Yeah, they're experimenting a bit, aren't they?
Yeah.
I want to get on to, I want to move forward a bit. That's the big reveal of the Hobgoblin. Is it Ned Leeds? I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's Ned Leeds, isn't it?
Is.
I think there were about 3 of them.
So it's funny when you read the early Spideys and Ned's just working at the Daily Bugle. It is cool to know who he then later becomes. You sort of take out that little bit more interest in the character.
True. I had quite a nice 290.
Now this is where Peter proposes to Mary Jane.
Yeah.
And I believe she says no.
Does she?
I think so.
Yeah. She looks like she's going to say no because she looks pretty shocked.
I'm sure she does.
I don't know at what point they reveal that she's always known he's Spider-Man. Because I think she says, doesn't she say that when Gwen died, she found out he was Spider-Man?
I'm not sure at what point. I mean, if they did live, as close together as I think they did, I think she just saw him going in and out the windows.
Yeah, maybe she knew before that, but I know they reveal
later on
that she always knew, or she knew from a certain point, which I think is quite a good story. Who do you prefer as Spider-Man's girlfriend, wife? Well, he's only had one wife, but who do you prefer as his?
I like Gwen Stacy. I like Mary Jane.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, they're my 2 favourites. I like Felicia Hardy.
Yeah.
Black Cat as
well. She didn't like him.
No, I know, but she didn't like him for Peter.
He's had a few, hasn't he? Betty Brant. In Dan Slott's run, he had more than one girlfriend, I think.
Mockingbird for a little while.
Mockingbird, yeah. And he was dating one of his colleagues in his Shanghai office, I think, in China. He did quite a few. I love it when it goes into Superior Spider-Man and Doc Ock is in Peter's body and he builds a whole life for himself, including dating. He dates, again, one of Peter's colleagues, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I can't remember her name. Good character.
Which again is really sad because then when Peter's back, he doesn't feel the same way, but they stay friends. I thought that was a great story.
Great story. Brilliant story. Who would have thought that would work? But
it worked so well.
Dan Slott, again, one of
our faves.
One of our favourites. Another brilliant Spider-Man writer. Did you not tell me once that he'd written more Spider-Man comics than anybody else? Is that
I think that's true. I think he's written like 1/5 of all Spider-Man comics.
That's not bad, is it?
No.
I'm going to jump forward then a bit to 298. So this is Todd McFarlane's first issue. Still got his black costume on. Has he had his black costume all the way through?
Yes, I was just thinking that. I mean, this is the 48th issue without seeing the red and blue. Yeah. So he's still in black, or he's gone back to red and then back to black. I don't know. But there's a whole point to him wearing the black costume, because at the end of issue 299, Eddie Brock, who's been disgraced at the Daily Bugle, appears as Venom, threatening poor old Mary Jane. So this is another Wolverine Hulk 180, 101 then?
This is, yeah. So at the end of 299, there's a cameo by Venom. When we say cameo, I think it's, as you say, I'm not going to get it out because it's in a Mylar bag. But yeah, I think he's on the last page.
Yeah.
Being all Venomy. I don't know whether they've got the big long Todd McFarlane tongue. What I've read, David Michelinie creates Venom.
Right.
But he says to Todd, create, this is what we're going to do. Now creating, and Todd does him with the long tongue and the teeth, and I think visually he's Todd McFarlane's character, but it's all a sort of a co-creation thing, isn't it? Fairly iconic. 300, that's been copied a few times, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've got a Spider-Gwen and a Silk variant that pays tribute to this cover.
I'm pretty certain there was a Spawn that Todd does down the line that goes for
a few
quid,
I've seen a
which
Spawn.
I don't have, but I mean he's done a few Spider-Man homages. I like Tom McFarlane. Yeah, he you look back at him and think of him as being very 90s, don't you? Very 90s style.
I do. Yeah, no, it's true. He's definitely got a distinctive style.
At this time, this is just before I go back to, reading comics in 1991. These issues have come out. I mean, when I come back, it's on, I don't know, the 340s, I think, and Eric Larson's the artist. And Tom McFarlane's doing the Spider-Man book, just called Spider-Man. There's no prefix to it, and it's really successful. And him and Jim Lee and Eric Larson, they're seen as being the cream of the artists. They all go off and form Image Comics.
I think it's amazing how Venom steps out of the Spider-Man book really as his own character, especially today, where he's had his own film, he's got his own popular series. He's quite a well-loved character.
He's massive now, isn't he, Venom? It is.
My children at school are obsessed.
Yeah, I always want to see him in the film because I thought he was a bit of a horror character more than just a
inky
villain.
sort of
Yeah,
alien.
I thought he's pretty. He could be pretty nasty. Yeah, Venom's a bit of a favourite because I kind of read these early issues on. I bought them on back issue, but I read them, enjoyed them, and I've always liked Venom. He was a bit overused in the 90s. 301. He didn't get his own series. In the 90s, he gets loads of miniseries,
right,
one after the other. And by the time he got his miniseries, he'd been around for ages.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a bit late to give him his own series. A bit like Wolverine. Wolverine got his own series so late. He was so popular. I've always forgotten that's the same cover.
The cover after.
Yeah, the cover after.
Yeah.
Yeah, different costume. Back in red because Venom's now wearing the symbiote. Silver Sable, we do have a first appearance, but it's back in the 260s, I think. But she doesn't appear on the cover, so
yeah.
I didn't pull that one out. So I'm going to pull out one or two of the Todd McFarlane covers because I quite like them. I always enjoyed Spawn. I always thought that was a good comic. I still read Spawn today, which McFarlane's writing again and doing some good stuff with. Let's have a little look at some of these. I won't get them all out, but I'll try and pull out a few that I particularly like. Actually, I like that one. Look at that. It's a good Sandman, isn't it?
Yeah, on the old front.
Yeah, I like that. Another look.
I mean, that's a homage to Action Comics.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Oh. No, I don't like that. I'm sorry.
It's a pretty hideous...
From Chicago comes the chameleon.
Yeah. Is that a Taskmaster? Probably isn't, or is it Tombstone? It's one of those characters. That's a good cover.
I think that's Taskmaster. Who kidnapped Mary Jane?
Like
now on sale twice a month.
Yeah, yeah. That was a bit strange when I came back to buying comics. They came out twice a month. I didn't really want that. Not only do you get a load of Spider-Man comics, you get them twice a month. So there's a few. That's a pretty decent cover.
Green Goblin versus the Hobgoblin.
I always like this one.
Yeah, I like that one.
Lizard.
TV.
Nice Christmas cover. Always like Christmas.
Yeah, me too. Peter and Mary Jane have been evicted just in time for Christmas.
Oh, why would they do that? I don't have 316, which is it's the first Venom cover. Goes for an awful lot of money, and it's the only Tom McFarlane I'm missing. I probably need to get it before
we'll track it down.
Too expensive for me. Eric Larson takes over at some point in the 320s. There's a nice one of the other covers I just want to pull out during this Tom McFarlane run. Is this Hulk one? I think it might be one of his last issues. I really like that. Hulk's great at the time. Tom McFarlane had been working on Hulk.
That's Spidey picking Hulk up and asking who is now the strongest.
Well, I'd like to say the Hulk, but
the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So what does this box finish with?
So we're getting towards the end of the box now. It finishes with, I've probably done this on purpose because it finishes with, sorry, can I just put that
yeah,
on? Look at that.
This always reminds me a bit of Shakespeare, a bit of Hamlet.
Yeah, brilliant, isn't it? I love that cover by Eric Larson. What a fantastic cover. One of my favourite Venom covers. Yeah, I'll start buying comics again. I'm pretty certain actually. Probably about that one.
Doom. 350.
Yeah, so before Eric Larson leaves, he does Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man. Then he goes off to do Savage Dragon at Image for many years. Still reading that one. We're going to end with that then. So Cletus Cassidy's appeared in Spider-Man. I'm pretty certain he's a serial killer. Really nasty. Certainly for what is still an all ages comic to reference a serial killer. But I'm certain that's how he's introduced.
There are just so many symbiotes now. I mean, from Venom and Carnage, you've got Scream.
I like Scream.
I just remember her from the ride at Universal Studios.
When we went first time we went on the Spider-Man ride, which is probably when you were about, was it when you were about 4?
4?
Yeah. So maybe 1999, I guess. I thought, why have they got Scream? And I vaguely remembered Scream from Venom Lethal Protectors just as a female Venom symbiote type character. Didn't always enjoy those Venom miniseries. I like Scream's look. I love the Scotty Young Scream cover recently. That's
just fantastic. Thinking that.
Oh, this is the first Carnage. Carnage, again, when Carnage appeared, I thought, why are they doing another Venom? So it's a whole Hobgoblin thing over again.
But it works, and you do see them as separate characters.
So he's a bit more insane, I think. I think he's more of a villain, and Venom's more of a hero. I think that's what's happened with Venom. They've tried to steer him that way with a different Eddie Brock again now, isn't it? After it being Flash Thompson, and there's been other Venoms as well. Scorpion was Venom for a while.
Oh, I remember that.
He bid for the costume and won it. But that's for a later box. Yeah, first Carnage. Mark Bagley, David Michelinie is still on the book. Carnage Part 1. Next box must be Carnage Part 2.
Oh, very cool. Well, hopefully very soon we will film a second part to our Spider-Man collection, because I really enjoyed filming today's video.
So did I, yeah. Great character. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Do like and subscribe. Bye.
Bye.